how are you showing up well outside of that 12-step meeting that you went to?
Right.
I think the same thing applies to Christianity. They think they're a great Christian,
Yeah.
because they go to church
Oh, yeah.
on Sunday and they're
Yeah.
Sunday best.
Oh,
As soon
yeah.
as they leave there, they're a motherfucker.
This is the Atomic Souls Podcast.
All right, welcome to the Atomic Souls Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Who are you? What do you do? What have you done?
My name's Cole Shiflet. Short answer to your question is I'm now a roofer, which is odd because prior to that, for almost 20 years, worked in substance abuse treatment,
Yeah.
primarily, of course.
What was that like for you?
Well, it was the first time that I ever, I don't know, like I felt so shitty about myself before I got sober because I never accomplished anything. Didn't go to college. Pretty much my education kind of stopped like around the 7th grade. And after high school, just was doing dope head shit. Treatment. And then eventually when I was 30, I got sober. And then I was one of the first clients at this center that just started called Mark Houston Recovery.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I was done there, they immediately hired me on.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, like I loved telling people when they asked what I did.
Yeah.
And I would say, I work at a treatment center.
Yeah.
So I was always very proud of
Nice.
that. And that was a path that was, I don't know, like when I talk about like my career, I'm always going to think about that,
yeah.
So like I don't really identify as a roofer because I'm so used to being,
Yeah.
substance abuse. It was a story that I couldn't have scripted any better. Like
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
How long were you in the treatment world?
Since 2006
Yeah.
until 2022.
Okay. About 15 years?
So,
20 years?
Cole
No,
is
it's
kind of
longer.
That's the
a
OG
local
March.
legend
Yeah.
in the treatment space.
Yeah. That's
And
OG
he's
work.
skipped over a lot of interesting things that we need
Scott,
to know about Cole.
Give us the deets, Scott. What's the tea on
A couple
Cole?
of things that I would like you to talk about is your, let's see. First of all, I would like to know about your reality show stint that you were on. I
yeah,
think
you
people would like
skipped
to
a
hear
lot.
about that.
We're here for the good stuff.
I think
We're
that
going to
people,
do that, huh?
let's start there. Tell me about this reality show that
What
you
do
were
people
on.
want to know about Cole?
Oh my God. All right. So
Here we go.
not my proudest thing, but no regrets on it. And so I'm born and raised here.
Okay.
And so very comfortable in this town. When I started working downtown, like when I was about 19 or 20,
Yeah.
and there was a whole group of us that, became close and, we all bartended or worked the door or whatever. And one night we were out and we got approached by this, I think it was a guy and a girl. And they were
Yeah.
like, hey, you guys should come down tomorrow and audition for this show called Eliminate. And we're all pissed drunk. We're like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We'll do it. So it was the following day, and we had to be at this place over on the east side about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oof.
And there was, each one of us individually had to do our own little interview process.
Yeah.
And so we were all hungover as hell, and so we're in and out of there pretty quick, and we didn't hear anything for a while, so we're like, it's
bombed
not
it.
nothing that we were hanging our hat on thinking like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, where are they? And so eventually we heard from like, hey, you made a show, and you made a show. There was 4 of us that made a show.
Yeah.
And when it came to filming the show, it was actually a really fun week because Warner Brothers rented this house in Rob Roy, which is in a very affluent neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we got to party off their dime, with all the producers of the show and everybody else. And so I made kind of an ass out of myself on this show. I was so nervous. And so I started drinking as soon as I woke up. Filming started like around 10 in the morning.
Oof.
I blacked out like around 12 or 1 despite, I had a shitload of coke on me. And it was not enough for me to be able to remember. A lot of GHB as well.
Oh, man.
My favorite part of that was
time.
When it aired, I was in a year-long treatment center up in
my
Dallas,
God.
Burning Tree.
Yeah. Oh no.
And so they put
roasted you, huh?
They put it on for everybody to watch
Yes.
in a focus group, just so I could be like embarrassed, like, oh, I don't want to be that guy anymore.
Yeah.
I thought it was hysterical,
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, I won.
This is great.
This is awesome. But hearing the counselors, especially when they were critiquing it about, they were being so serious, like,
Yeah. Fire
look at this
circle
guy, look at you. You don't even remember this. And I'm,
Yeah.
holding back laughter. And it was a lot of fun. I hate it now because my kids will show it to anybody and
my
everybody,
gosh. Yeah,
and they
I'm gonna
know
look
that
this
it
up.
embarrasses the shit out of me. And so even on my contact photo that they've saved in their phones, it's a picture of me doing that. But I don't remember shit about it. Little glimpses and pieces, here and there. I do have a picture of me afterwards, completely comatose on a couch in my own spit and all that.
God.
It was. Everybody said it was a good time.
Yeah.
So, and that wasn't. Let me see. And so
That
that
was
would have
4
been in
days?
2001, I
Yeah.
guess, when that happened. That's kind of when I was. I don't know. I was pretty bad about that time. I
Peak
got
reality TV too.
Huh?
That's peak reality TV time.
Yeah, it was pioneer days.
Yeah.
And nobody these days has heard of Eliminate. It was kind of
I
there
have.
and then it was gone.
We're gonna look it up.
You're of that age when it was on
I've
there.
seen screenshots of that. Yep.
It's just like
Of
a Big
that
Brother
cold.
situation where you're just all in a house and chilling.
Yeah, I mean, God, we did Jello wrestling and all this
my
shit,
God.
and they paid for everything. But me and my other 3 buddies, they would film us at various locations.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really cool because mine was going to be downtown to where I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
And really thought I was super cool, also.
Till you saw the video.
Yeah. And so that's when I was like peak partying days. Like there was a lot of consequences up to that point in terms of legal obstacles that I had, and a lot of other things. When I really got bad into the addiction, when it really kind of took a whole new level was I was in care for about 14 months straight. And I was in jail for a few months. I got out. Either that night or the following day, the cops are spinning my truck out down 35 because I'm passing out the wheel. So I go back into jail. From there, I go to La Hacienda. From La Hacienda, I went to Burning Tree. Back then, there was only one Burning Tree, and it was up outside of Dallas. And it was
The intense boot camp.
Yeah, it was a thick behavior mod.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can do that, anymore or not. So I was there for 12 months. Got out of there, had to go back to jail for a little bit. And after that, that's when shit got real bad.
Yeah.
It's when coke and crack were really, really in there. And it got pretty bad.
Yeah.
So another thing that is part of the Cole Shiflet
What's
legend
the next T
is
for
you
us?
were a pretty high level golfer at one point. What
At one point.
a lot of stories going around about Cole's golf career. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well,
Using in golf. Yeah, I need to hear how that worked.
they blended together, later on, but I started playing when I was in probably 7th or 8th grade. And it was one of those deals that when I picked up a club, I could just do it. A lot of other people, it's just not natural to them for whatever reason, I could just play.
Yeah.
And I lived it, breathed it, slept it. It's all I cared about doing.
Did you go to Westlake High?
I did. We lived in Westlake, basically since the time I was born in a really, really old house. We weren't financially in that, level. And so, we moved around a lot. Then we would always kind of wind up going back there. But yeah, I mean, I was kindergarten through high school, was in Westlake. I want to say that we were 4A back then. I know we weren't 5. But the golf is just, it consumed me. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything else. And I was pretty good at it. Won a lot, lost a lot. But as soon as my junior year, I met this chick.
Oh God.
This chick is now my wife.
Oh.
And that's when I started getting a bit distracted.
Yeah.
Where it
The
wasn't.
love of your life.
Yeah, it wasn't my first priority. And with her came a group of friends who I'm still friends with today, but we were kind of a force multiplier with each other. We all had we were capable of doing some pretty dumb shit. You
Yeah.
put us together, we did a lot of dumb shit. And by that time, because I did crave social status, in high school, and these guys kind of brought that to the table. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, but golf really fell off. And then when I graduated high school, there was people that knew that I was talented and that I could play. And so they sponsored me for a couple of years to go out on the mini tours.
Nice.
And I didn't give a shit to be out there at all. And there was a pretty good bit of money that they were providing for me.
Yeah.
Basically, I just wasted a lot of their money because I was not invested in it. But traveled a lot, around the southern states and whatnot. Never, only made a few cuts. And then I quit, as soon as that show was over, just because I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And so I hung it up, and then not long after I got sober, kind of got the itch, and I never thought I'd play again. Got the itch to, start swinging the sticks. I had my amateur status back, and I actually played pretty well, everywhere kind of in these Central Texas tournaments. But I've seen real high level golf. I played with I'm lucky enough where I've played with some of the biggest names that are in the sport just, by coincidence. But when you see that level, you realize that, those guys are kind of a different breed. Like if you took me out with a bunch of people that don't play, you'd be like, wow, this guy can really play.
Yeah.
What's unfortunate is now I practically never play. But people still think, that I can play. And I wish that expectation didn't exist because, it's so bad now.
Cole's still in very high demand in the scrambles.
Yeah.
He gets asked all the time.
I can still pump it out there.
He hasn't been in the
Pretty
field
good.
in a while now, but every time I go to a scramble tournament, there's Cole.
Yeah.
And, I always say yes, it is fun.
It's awesome.
But, the ego is still alive and well to where it's just like, I'd rather just people, think, that I'm good as
Keep
opposed
the
to
image alive.
I show up and they're like, yeah, this is not what we bought.
Trash.
We wanted something better than this. But I never practice. I'm also about, 30 or 40 pounds heavier than I was. I've had a bunch of operations, so my body just doesn't move, like it once did.
You gotta twist right.
Yeah, but it'll be, I don't know, it was my first love and the only thing that I've ever really been obsessed with.
Yeah.
I loved working in treatment and all that. It never felt like work to me. Sometimes it did, of course, but I don't know, that was never work.
How many times have you been to treatment?
If you're counting all the IOP kind of stuff, court ordered stuff, as well
We count
as
IOP as treatment.
Yeah.
That's right. Of course y'all do. And so residential and all that, I don't know, 12, 14, something like that. I remember the first time that I was in treatment, I was 17. I was 17 years old.
Where do you go back then? Was there teen places?
La Hacienda.
La Hacienda.
Really? Had
And
teens?
back then they had what was called the young adult program, which I don't think that it's around.
I don't know. Back then,
anymore.
Laha and Starlight both had adolescent.
Okay.
Back then, that
Nice.
was kind of the places you would go for that type of treatment. So,
But
why didn't treatment work?
That's like OG.
Why didn't it work?
I wanted to be somewhere else, and I'm still kind of that school of thought to where, it's how do you make someone do something that they really don't want to do?
Especially at that age.
at all, especially at that age.
With the hooligan friends,
Yeah.
the girlfriend.
I just wanted to be with my friends.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I asked that question because, I want to talk a little, or you to talk a little bit about Solstice and how that came about, because
Yep.
you helped a lot of people that were the hard cases that, I know you helped a lot of people with no money. I know that you've, bent over backwards to take in the dregs of humanity to try to rescue them, which I
The
say that in a
worst
very
boy.
loving way
no,
because
it's very true.
I also got the opportunity to have some of those people, Mike Finnegan being one, that we both are, missed
Yeah.
a lot. And
without him, Solstice never would have been anything because, and nobody gives, in my opinion, nobody gives the Finnegan family enough credit because
Cynthia
they're the ones that pumped oxygen, into
they
that
did.
place. Without them, it would have been, that show would have been over really, really quickly.
Yeah, their family really helped out the treatment world.
A lot. I
Remember hearing about them.
well, don't sell yourself short because, Cole, they
bet on a good horse.
they did. And one of the most, passionate, compassionate, caring individuals. I know that about you. You're also the pioneer of unapologetic, inappropriate marketing.
I think I am actually, around
You pioneered that
these,
around here.
these parts.
100%.
Yeah.
Like the marketing that was coming out of Solstice was.
We do some wild shit, but y'all did some wild stuff.
That
was some
was
good
next
stuff.
level. But there was very much rhyme and reason, behind it because I never ever wanted Solstice to be a treatment center. I didn't want anybody thinking that it was a treatment center, and so
run them off.
and so it was, we went through great strides to really kind of, let that be known. It's like, hey, this is just a getaway spot. Let's get through the steps. We're for people that have been through, multiple different treatment centers. And we really want to focus on the culture, the brotherhood and whatnot, because, as if you've relapsed and in sober living, very hard to get back in there. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first went to treatment when I was 17 years old, there would be these kids in there were like, this is my third or fourth time in treatment. And you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I've never heard of this multiple, treatment centers. Like it was kind of like taboo enough to, gone to treatment one time. But I was blown away. I was like, these people must be mental,
Y'all
to
are
do
fucked
it.
up.
So these days, it's nothing.
It's pretty normal,
everybody's
yeah.
been
It's
through-
everybody.
Well, fentanyl really, it's so normal. Heroin and fentanyl took off.
It really did. And so the overwhelming majority of the people that came into our care, were opiate addicts, which sucked, for a lot of different, that's just, scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Scares the shit out of me that I got a 17 and 18-year-old also, and it's, I don't know, unfortunate things happen, a lot. But it was, me and my wife, who, we were a team at Solstice.
Is she in recovery?
She is. Yeah. She stopped drinking and, man, it's got to be 10 plus years easy.
Nice.
It's been a bit. But yeah, and so it's really cool. And she got sober, I guess, a few years when our kids were just a few years old. But it's really cool. It's like our kids have never seen us the way that we're, capable of being. Like, all my kids know is a sober dad, a sober mom. Cool. And so that's, above anything else, that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't take care of myself for shit, before I got sober. And when all of a sudden my then girlfriend, when she told me that she was pregnant, I was like, I'm not cut for this. I'm going to relapse. I'm going to fuck this up, one way or another. And, I was able to do all right in that department. Yeah. So I don't know, that's being a pops is the coolest thing there is out there.
Yeah.
It's been cool to be a parent. He stopped drinking like the minute I got pregnant. He was like, yep, I'm done. Like,
how old are your kids?
She's 3.5.
Oh man. Yeah, that's
She's
a
wild.
handful.
You can't drink and be around her. Like,
No
I'm a
way.
normie, but like,
No way.
I'm like, I don't really want to be drunk around you. You're
Our kids
obnoxious.
our kids are 15 months apart.
Oh, wow.
And so pretty darn close.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is really
And so when they were young, it was crazy times because I was working so much. And when I go home, immediately walk into, with the kids and all that. But it was the best thing that could have happened to me because I got sober here in Austin, which, was the last place you would think that, I would get sober. Especially back then, it was all kind of about like, hey, get out
Go
of
to
your
Florida,
town,
California.
and then maybe eventually, come back.
Yeah.
But because as soon as I got out of treatment, because I did start working there right away, I was surrounded by guys, both residents and staff that, I loved being with. I was also That's back when I went to a whole lot of meetings. And so I was surrounded by recovery, which was the biggest blessing there was.
Yeah.
But when the day was over, I go home and I walk into 2 young kids, which, as y'all know, is a freaking handful and then some. And so I think that boredom is kind of a big problem, with people in recovery, like having idle time.
Yeah.
Idle time was
Not
completely non-existent, back then, but it's exactly what I needed.
Kept you
I don't think I would have
busy.
made it at all had, especially if I worked in treatment center. If I hadn't started working in treatment, I don't think that I probably would have made it.
Survived.
Who knows?
toddler
But,
years.
I certainly don't think that hurt,
Yeah.
at all.
What?
I wanted to be sober more than anything.
You have
I
like
was
an
very-
aha moment.
I wouldn't call it an aha. It was more of, I just want to die, kind of moment.
Yeah. One of those.
But I mean, I knew long before that, alcohol and drugs, I did not drink like normal people. I did not use like normal people. Like
Step
no
one.
further proof needed.
Good.
I knew that from when I was a teen.
Yeah.
But what I didn't put enough stock in or respect enough was that mental aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, you take alcohol and drugs for me, I'm freaking Looney Tunes. It's the best word for it is pain, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt myself, I was kind of watching and I was like, I'm going insane. I'm going insane. And it kept on getting worse and worse the older I've got. And so it was a lot easier on my mind when I was high. You take away that and it's pretty bad. And so it got to the point to where I questioned my sanity so much and I knew my experience. I was like, okay, continue on with the trend. This is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. I didn't care about the alcohol and drug part. It was like
getting to the root of the like.
Yeah, it was like I'm
you were
going
coping.
insane, and there's no fixing this.
Yeah.
Glad to say I was wrong on that.
Yeah.
But once I got a taste, subjective. Once I got a taste for it, I really wanted it bad. And I've been through the steps before, never with the right motive. I'm also kind of one of those guys that thinks, you can go through the steps, but if you're really not, I'll speak for myself, if you're not seeking God, through that process, I think maybe you can get away with that if you're kind of early stages, of addiction or whatnot. And I'm all for people being introduced to that stuff. But for me, I was never able just to do the steps as instructed, like do this, do that. I had to do it all with the motive of really seeking a relationship, with God. And it happened, and it happened pretty quickly. I felt it, I was on fire about it. And because I had done the steps before, truth is I never did the steps. I would make it up to 9. I would do a couple chicken shit amends. And that was kind of it. And I started to think, like everybody does, like, I got this, completely lose respect for the adversary that was out there. But I was so scared that I would relapse that I went through the amends process, which took years, to really kind of check all those things off, and was very consistent in, the disciplines of 10, 11, and 12.
Nice.
But it was all with the motive of maintaining it and growing that relationship, with God.
Yeah.
Because I'd been sober for a while in the past, but, I was institutionalized, the majority of that time. I never thought that I was going to stay sober. It was like, it's a matter of time before I fuck this up. It's going to happen again, which was also a good thing because it kept me, going through the steps. But it took me probably about 2 years. So I was like, you know what? If I keep doing this, it's probably just going to keep working.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was probably about 5 years sober, that's when I started to feel comfortable, where it's like, if I keep doing this, I will be okay. Just repeat with what has got you this far, kind of stuff.
So would you say?
I know you're in recovery.
Yep.
Are you guys in recovery?
No, he's sober,
Just
but not in
normal
recovery.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, by proxy, you guys know a whole lot more than
We know a lot,
than
yeah.
other people, because
A lot of people think we are. They're like, "Oh, you're in recovery." I'm like, no.
but y'all are
Read the big
submersed in
book.
it,
Yeah.
all the time.
Other normies think they were potentially in recovery. People in recovery are like, you're not in recovery.
Some people think though. Some people think I'm in recovery because I'll spit the 12 steps out. I'll spit quotes from the big book, and
Yeah.
like I think if you're gonna help a community, you need to like know what they're going through
I
and
agree.
like the language that works. And I love spitting out some big book knowledge because then they're like, oh yeah, you're right. There's so much accountability in it.
That was one of my problems was big book knowledge, because I've been through treatment so many times, especially the places where I went to treatment to that were very 12-step heavy. Huge big book, breakdowns, line by line stuff, these crazy long, thorough 4-step models, from these workbooks. And so I got the whole book, memorized. And so I could throw out some really cool shit, at meetings by what I'd say. And I think that's also a dangerous trap, because you can go to a meeting and you can hear somebody and they're spitting some game, like it sounds good. And you're like, wow, that guy's really got it. But it's just memorization, it's just memorization. It's,
we say
you actually do what it tells you to do. I don't give a shit, who's got it memorized, but you see that shit all the time.
All the time. And I think that this is just me personally and probably going to offend somebody, but I struggle with all the Mark Houston this and Mark Houston that when, I don't think Mark Houston, not from you, I'm not saying you identify that you've been there, but you know as well as I do, a lot of people like to talk about their roots, coming from Mark Houston. And I mean, Mark Houston would have told you back then, like it's in the book, right? Like it's big book stuff, and it's stuff that I have to invest in. Yeah. If I don't invest in it, I can memorize this stuff and I can talk a good game and I can be that guy that sounds good in a meeting. But if I can't stay sober and I can't act spiritually, I'm not going to get this thing. Yeah. And I think what you identified about, I'd done the work before, like, I talk about that sometimes with my people, like you can do the mechanics and get a certain amount of way, but if you're not invested in the work and really seeking that change in spirit, you're not going to get what it tells you you're going to get. Yeah. And so I am a big believer in like just invest in what are you doing today? Yeah. To build on your recovery, not what do you know? What do you know doesn't mean anything if you're not putting it into action. Yeah.
And when you kind of get some time under your belt, like I don't think step 12 is given, is really kind of understood as much as I think that it should be, because when people think step 12, they kind of think, what was it? Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous that I'm drawing the blank.
Giving back.
Carrying the message.
The second part being, practice these principles in all our affairs. I don't think that part is executed, enough, because that's the daily walk, right there is how are you showing up well outside of that 12-step meeting that you went to? Right. I think the same thing applies to Christianity. Yes. I hate these fucking people that they think they're a great Christian, because they go to church on Sunday and they're Sunday best. And they say they go to church. As soon as they leave there, they're a motherfucker. Yep. They're a motherfucker at home. They're just that. And so I think the same thing very much applies to recovery. Yeah. Be that guy that says all the cool shit, in the meetings, but what are you doing?
That's the point I was trying to make. Who you are as a human being means so much more to me than where you went to treatment, who you learned it from, all that stuff. Because, I can have the best teacher, but if I'm not practicing this stuff, then it doesn't mean anything. And I can tell you how great my teacher was, but I'm over here behaving like an asshole, right? In public, treating people poorly, not being of service, being selfish and self-centered in my daily life.
Egotistical, because I would too.
I'm just diminishing what I'm over here is, claiming that I come from this stock. Yeah.
No, I like that you say that about Christianity. I think that's why I vibe with the recovery community so well, because I was raised in the Christian world and churches, and I saw through all that kind of bullshit. We left church for a few years because of it, and really helped me get through some like resentment towards those people, because we're like back in Christianity, but in the sense of like actually like living it out and like finding people that are living it out as well. Similar to recovery, it's like it doesn't matter like what you're doing, what you know about recovery or Christianity, like are you doing it? Like what are you actually like implementing it in your life? It's so important.
From these from these kind of from an old school standpoint, when people are talking about step 12 in treatment, it's so closely tied to what, when they think of step 12, they think, H&I commitments, and they think, sponsorship. But it goes so far, outside of it to where I think it matters. Just going kind of back to the point, it's how are you treating people in your life?
Yeah, how are you internally before you're working?
Of course, you're going to fuck up, a lot of times, but hey, can you identify your part and can you apologize to that person?
Yeah.
Like where it happens, all the time is at home.
Yeah.
You do something stupid, if I piss Tara off or if she pisses me off, it's like, hey, what did you do? What was your part of it? And there's always a part, in it. And it's a magical thing because it diffuses so much, not to hold on to that to when you can own kind of your part. Yeah. But that's practicing, this deal.
Mm-hmm.
How are you treating, the dude out there, you holding the door for people, all those little things. It's like, there's acts of service, all day,
how you
every
show up.
day.
Yeah. Kind of going back to like working in treatment and like building your own. How does that concept and how has that like driven you to do your own thing?
Say that again, the first part.
Working in treatment and like that mentality of that 12 step. How is that like?
Well, I mean, that's.
I imagine you saw some shit you didn't like, and so you made your own. That's my guess. That's my guess.
She tried to get you to call some people
I
out.
did the same thing, so I see it.
Well, I tell you, and so
let's get into the meat of the business stuff.
I didn't know the disgusting parts of it. I was kind of protected from that, where it's, working at a, kind of ground level, it's like you're not kind of exposed to these, kind of inner workings.
Yep.
Once I started doing like,
I hate when clients come to work at treatment. I hate it because they see behind the curtain. I'm like, it's not pretty. You're going to hear some shit you don't like.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
When I started doing like, kind of things that were more business development and all that, I started kind of getting into,
you did BD?
More. And yeah.
I just remembered something else that Cole did.
I got to hear your thoughts on this.
Who started TLR?
Oh, we're getting in. We're name dropping. Bleep it out.
Yeah, Cole Shiflet is one of the.
You started TLR.
I did, and so that
legend.
That was
I knew you at BRC.
Not many people do because it opened in 2012. I was out of there by 2015, but that was born of this crazy
brain.
Yeah.
Is that why you're calling it out so hard?
Well, no, actually, like I had to do.
I made that place. Yeah, I do the same about the place I helped open.
Let me back up on that one. So, yes, that is a part of it. Just it was an easy one to kind of take a shot at. Just because there were so many of us that saw how cool of a place that was. For the first several generations, as it is at a lot of centers. Things are awesome when you got that new energy. And it feels great.
Excitement. We're gonna do it different.
And so it was tough. Well, when I sold my shares of it, man, I was
in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I wanted to do it. After I was done with
Mm-hmm.
at that time it was. I can't remember if it was Benchmark or BRC. Same place. I can't remember what the name was of that time. So when Mark Houston Recovery, Benchmark, BRC.
Yeah.
Because of what I saw kind of like behind the curtain, which is not exclusive by any means.
It's
just
everywhere.
to them. It's just
far
more often than not that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But I was out of there, and I was like, I really want to start my own place, but this is so unrealistic because I don't have, who am any money, much less, a couple of $1 million. But my brother knew that I wanted to do it, and he's like, you should come check out this place. And, it's out in, outside of Bastrop. Him and I went out there and looked at it, and I was the whole time driving out there. It's like, this is way too far. This is way too far, way too far. And we got out there, and it was like, holy shit, this place is perfect. Different buildings on a gorgeous property. the people that owned that place, Pebbles and Christian, they used to be neighbors of ours before they moved out there.
Nice.
And my brother was the listing agent on it. But that place at the time was used as a vacation arts, kind of deal. People come in and take these art classes and whatnot.
Nice.
But still, the problem's there. I don't have any money. How are we going to do this? Now, Bill and Ann Schneider they know my mom and dad really well. They got to know them because my father, who's an architect, designed their house.
Nice.
I didn't know Bill and Ann were the shit, other than they knew who I was. I knew who they were, knew my face and all that. I'm at the mall one day. I'm walking in. Ann Schneider's walking out, like, hi.
Yeah.
Hi. And she asked, like, hey, what are you doing these days? I was like, well, I've been working in treatment, but I'm kind of in flux right now. I really want to do my own place, but I don't know how it's going to happen. And she was like, huh, you want to have breakfast tomorrow? I'm like, okay. I had no idea that they had experience in substance abuse. They used to own this place called the Life Healing Center of Santa Fe that they sold. They did really well on. They just kind of wanted to get back in it. And so long story short, took them out there. They loved it. Yeah. And everything happened really fast from there. I mean, it seemed like it was about 6 months, from time we saw the property till, the time we opened.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously I had a real, heavy hand, in that. But without Bill and Ann, nothing, would have happened.
You never burn a bridge and always say yes.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So Mark, I put, kind of on a pedestal. It's like I give him so much credit, which he would, he wouldn't want to take in the first place. But he was such a wonderful teacher.
Was he staff or client there?
Well, this was I'm talking about at Mark Houston.
Talking about Mark Houston
Recovery now,
which I again want to say I'm not crapping on Mark Houston. I think Mark did a lot of great work and created a great program and all that stuff. I don't want to give the
it's just using it as like a chip.
I just think that people are frivolous with the use of that.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Just throwing out names.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like used as one of those things to where I'm better than you.
Exactly. Like a status.
Because of this.
Like a
at the networking lunch Wednesday, that's a real thing. Somebody mentioned Mark Houston at the Wednesday lunch. I'm like, bro, this guy's been gone for so long. Why are you saying his name? Like, because the ego.
Because he was Central Texas treatment, kind of. I mean, Mark Houston did it different. Was one of the first ones to do it different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was something special out there and all that stuff. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, Cole can attest to that. And he's talking about it right now. It's just,
It lost its special pretty quick, in my opinion. Again, when things are new, they're really cool. Yeah. And so there were so few of us that were there. I was the fourth or fifth person there. Wow. And so we all lived in the house. Mark lived in the house with us. And it was awesome. It quickly changed and started to take on a lot of characteristics that old school Burning Tree had. You bought in, Burning Tree stuff, and they really started implementing it. Man, I mean, it happened fast. How hard those lines got there. There are just a handful of us that got to experience what Mark wanted it to be. All that, but Mark wasn't, the money, behind it. He had other people in his ear like, no, we need to do this and this. But I knew Mark since I was in high school.
Really?
My best friend, Mark, was dating off and on his older sister. And then, so I knew who Mark was and all that, but we didn't have any kind of relationship. Now, when I went to Burning Tree in 2002, he was the CEO at that time. And so I got to spend over a year, with him, his teachings and all that. And a wonderful teacher, wonderful teacher. And I liked him personally just because he didn't take himself too seriously. He's kind of the one that showed me it was okay to assassinate yourself, and kind of own all these defects about it, because he would say some off-the-wall shit about himself, things he'd done or whatever. They were absolutely true. Yeah. And he would kind of laugh about it. And I was like, man, that's cool. Yeah. And it's a powerful position to be in. That's one thing that I've kind of taken on. Is like, I'm going to make sure that you don't have anything on me because I'm going to own it first, and all that.
You can't mean I hurt myself enough.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I don't want anybody to think that they have any dirt or anything. I'll beat them to the punch, and kind of throw it out there. But when with that early kind of Mark Houston, when it was open there, we all referred to it as the last resort. And so that was, they had signs going up that would say the last resort, the last resort.
Yeah.
And so Mark passed away, and this is when, the beginning of TLR, and we're talking about names. And I wanted to call it the last resort because that name meant something to me. And I did think it was a cool name. It was very different. Bill and Ann had a hard time with that one. They were like, this should be kind of more along the lines of like, recovery and,
it's a little morbid,
and Pine Forest. And I was like, every place is called Recovery and Pine Forest.
Right? We had the same
deal.
conversation. We're like, what do we call this? Like sunset IOP? Like,
right.
If they had the ability to see forward and how the drug, world changed,
people love it.
That is a profound name, right?
Yeah,
like you've tried everything else. Like,
well, I mean, you can attest to this, just how crazy the landscape changed, especially like around, I would say, I'll put it this way. When we opened up the last resort, that was the same time that the Arbor opened up. That was the same time that, Ben Levinson, had opened up Origins down there. Yeah. And there was a few other places.
When was that? Like early 2000s?
2011, 2012-ish, kind of
I
around
got
that.
Here at
What's interesting is that from Justin Harvey started the Arbor. He was Mark Houston alone. Ben Levinson, Mark Houston alone. Me, Mark Houston alone. And so, when I got sober, Mark Houston, when it opened up, that was about one of two places in Austin you could have gone to get sober. Austin Recovery being the other one. Yep. They had some other places, whether it was Faulkner Center or these, kind of other things. But yeah, it was basically those two spots. And so
that's wild.
And now, and so 2012, all of us kind of opened up these centers, and then things really started to mushroom, from there. Yeah. Fast forward, not many years later, now I have no idea how many treatment centers, are here.
There's so many.
Because it's crazy, but I mean, it's big business. And of course, those, business principles have, seeped their way, kind of into here.
That's a big thing.
Well, people also
private
scarcity.
Equity is involved in treatment?
Tremendously.
Really?
That's
I know.
TLR. What are you talking about?
He knows.
But I get it. It's a business. And so like that was one of the things that strained my relationship with Bill and Ann was I wanted to keep it small and a certain way. Now, to their credit, they never tried to hide the fact of what their intentions were. Yeah. I'll never forget, I was talking to Ann. Man, she looked me dead in the eyes and she was like, make no mistake about it. This will be a big world-class center. Wow. And in my mind, I was like, nah, it won't happen. And so things started to morph in there. Next thing you know, we're bringing in, licensure and insurance. And of course you take on other characteristics and all that. That was hard on me to swallow because it's like, doesn't feel like my baby, anymore. Yeah. But man, when we parted ways, that was tough on me because, I identified so much too. It's like, man, without this, who am I? Yeah. Which is a wonderful thing because you better figure out, who you really are. Yeah. But when I made that post, I hope that nobody thought that, I was doing that because, I started that, fuck them. Believe
I don't even
me,
know if people know you started
I did all that work many years ago because it took me years, to really get right on that one. And of course, it's even easier when Solstice happened and, my kids are getting older and healthier. I had this great relationship. You can't really look back at it as, fuck them, fuck those bad experiences. No, it's the best thing that could have happened to me because had that not happened, would have opened up, all these pathways that, came to be. So that's the only way to look at it was, man, that was an invaluable experience. I'm 100%. Grateful for Bill and Ann for doing what they did for that center because they're wonderful people. Yeah. They really are, but they're entrepreneurs and they make no mistake about it. Yeah. And so they did a fabulous job of accomplishing their goal of a good treatment center, a big treatment center, and then sell it for whatever they sold it for. I'm sure it was good. I'll put it that way. Yeah. But when you get that big and everything else, in my mind, it's like, that's all the places. You're
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to distinguish yourself.
It's
The only
hard
thing
to
that really sticks out about it is you have a beautiful property.
Yeah.
It might be the prettiest one. Well,
It is nice.
Driftwood is probably might have the best property.
Bougie. Yeah.
But it's yeah. I mean, that is some high cotton.
I worked
out
there for 60 days.
No shit.
Yeah.
What happened?
I think a client complained, and they said, "All right, we'll get rid of her."
I signed an NDA, but it's probably up now.
Are you sure?
Yeah, be careful.
Maybe we'll say it.
It didn't work out.
Didn't work out. I wasn't ready to
It wasn't
work
meant to
there.
be.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to work.
Yeah. I live right by there.
Really? It's
Actually,
nice out there.
I still go out there to
beautiful.
see Dr. Fred Wilson, sometimes. But yeah, that property's crazy.
We've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. I was just devastated as an early clinician, and
It was
they
when they
hired
first
me.
opened.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was one of the original hires, and then it just didn't work.
Who was the other one? You got Flowers, and who was the other one?
Flowers, Beard,
Beard,
Michael
Michael
Beard was
Beard.
still there.
Yeah.
Peter Floor was still I think he's still there. Brad hired me. Megan Stevens was out there.
Haven't heard
She
that
hired
name in a
me.
minute.
I know she yelled at me at Ascension House. So when I worked at Rock Springs, a client decided to go somewhere else instead of Ascension House, and she got on the phone and chewed me out. And I was like, they just chose where to go. I can't force them into anywhere.
Those guys over at Ascension
And then
House
she
are
hired
assholes.
me.
Where? Ascension House.
I've never liked that at all. I mean, that's a crazy story of Ascension House, because when y'all first started,
That was in 2015.
it was women only. Was it? No, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you
Yeah.
had JL there.
Yeah.
The women
Yeah.
would come to Rock Springs for IOP, PHP, and so I would lead it sometimes. But I was more on the detox, so I was sending people mostly to res, not to sober houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Megan yelled at me, and then hired me at Driftwood. And
Yeah,
then
I love that place. I can't imagine what they paid for that property. I can't imagine what that property would sell for now.
Dude.
I would love to own
saw-
that one.
yeah.
Whew.
it's cash pay check only. They don't fuck around.
Well, I mean, they're good. It's just that's who they cater.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Those
They-
people need
you know,
recovery too.
That's a different market.
They
Yeah.
do.
You know,
I mean, and there's people that demand that niche. It's like
They have great services too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cole and myself,
Brad's.
we like to be in the ditches. Our clientele were not that kind.
I realized, so I was
No.
devastated because I'd never been fired before. So I was devastated. And then I also was like, oh, the money was nice. And it was such a nice facility, the ego. So I was devastated. But I realized quickly once I started at RU, I was like, all right, these are more of my people with the style clientele. And then opening all this up over the years, we are more like the worst boys style than
I'm sorry.
anything.
There's more to that story too.
What?
The timing.
What am I leaving out?
That we had bought
Do
a
share.
house specifically.
Oh
to
yeah,
work
within
there.
that 60 days, I was an idiot, and we bought a house because I was commuting from Round Rock to Driftwood every day. Yeah.
Was RU at a different location, or has it always been out
So-
there?
I opened up after that was Driftwood. So within that 60 days, we bought a house in Kyle and moved, and then they fired me. And then I was
That's scary.
jobless for a month. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sucks.
Paying
we-
mortgage.
Before we bought the house, I said, look, if we buy this house, it's way beyond our means. I said, we have to be a
I was making good money.
household, 2-income household.
Yeah.
So right now we live purely off the money, but I can't afford this house. She's like, oh, it's gravy train. I'm gonna kill it. And
I'm going
this
up
is
and
gonna
up
be my
from here.
career
It's
forever."
Driftwood.
We bought a house, and the day after we signed, she got fired.
That's
was
some real
sobbing
shit.
to-
We ain't even moved
That's
in
some
yet.
I was
real
sobbing
shit.
to Brad. I was like, I just bought a house. He's like, I know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since, but I just want to ask him his experience of firing me. I was
That would be a
fucked
great
up.
podcast.
That would be
I
a
should
great
get him
one.
on. I was so
Were you a hot mess?
devastated. I was sobbing. I was like, can I say bye to the clients?
Yeah. I mean, that real life shit
it
is
fucked
scary.
me up.
as
Yeah.
hell, man. It's like, what am I going to do
Panicking,
What-
driving through Driftwood.
Speaking of that, you were talking about how your identity leaving TLR and everything, and then, I can only imagine, I know how hard it was to shut down Solstice. That
Yeah.
you kept that kicking for as long as you could possibly kick it.
It
And-
lasted longer than then I was worried about just because, me and Tara's biggest stress was, how are we going to make payroll? How are we going to make payroll?
I remember.
Somehow we're able to happen.
That y'all were not, you're not shy about that struggle. I remember that struggle.
What was that like from TLR to Solstice?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Just because Solstice was kind of born out of experience in a couple different ways. You do admissions, you get a similar call often, and it became more and more frequently, which is, you're talking to little Johnny on the phone. It's like, or even a parent, they're like, he does not need to go back to treatment.
Yeah, he
He's
can
been
teach
there
it.
20 fucking times. He just needs to get somewhere safe for a month. And it's that very, concept that created was like, okay. And so, in order to fill that space, we got to be more, of a clubhouse, which I wanted to do because it's more fucking fun, that way anyway. But also it was like, I wanted to kind of have some characteristics of the culture that I got to experience, in that very, very first, generation of Mark Houston, because that's what made it so great, was because we were all fucked off,
It's the magic.
staff, clients, everything. We had a blast, until it went, another direction. But I think that those guys and laughing in recovery that much and having fun was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And then I still do to this day. It's like, this recovery shit's fun. It's a lot easier to keep doing it than as opposed to where it's like, ugh, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But, I got to put my suit on and go to this 9-to-5 job I hate.
Well, that was where I was trying to get to. Like, most people know you, around, especially the younger crowd, is the Solstice guy, right? As Cole, the Solstice, maniac and all that stuff. And there's some identity in that. And then how was the transition into roofing? And I know that you're doing great with that. I know that's been a huge success for you and all that stuff. So, like, was it tough saying, "Oh, I got to go get a real job"?
What was tough about it is after we shut down Solstice, it's the exact same spot that y'all were in. It's like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Especially because that's all I knew, was that. And I didn't want to go back to work, for somebody else at a treatment center, because I was really, really jaded by that time,
I get that.
But this guy that I've known ever since I've been sober, who just loved like a brother and always respected him, so much, being Jason Wright. And I knew his partner, DJ Shea. DJ Shea was kind of a legend in the treatment world for, his time down at La Hacienda. I didn't even know that Jason, kind of had a roofing company. Someone told me, it's like, you should get into roofing. I was like, I don't know any fucking thing about roofing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it's Jason Wright's and DJ's business. Reach out to Jason. And he didn't even balk at it. He's like, I was like, if the spot ever opens up, I'd love to give it a shot, but I don't know anything about it. He's like, you're hired, basically. And he was like, it's fun. You're going to make more money than you ever have. But it was hard learning from scratch, again, because I knew treatment pretty well, very comfortable in that space. And so, it was scary in that respect, but I loved all the guys and still do. The team that I, work for. Sadly, Jason passed away. I guess it's got to be coming up on a year and a half, coming up on 2 years. Where this fucking dude, and so, pancreatic cancer out of nowhere. Healthy as hell. Yeah, the dude's literally playing golf, 4 days a week. Literally.
Jeez.
Then one day, it's causing him a lot of pain when he's trying to drink fluids. Shook it off a little bit. Next day, a lot of pain when he's drinking fluids. He was still going to try to tough it out. His wife was like, you need to go to the hospital. Long story short, it goes from, one day playing golf, it hurts when you drink fluids. Go to the hospital a couple of days later, you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I know people that have, lost that battle before. That was the first time that I witnessed pancreatic with somebody that was personal to me. Now that shit is no joke.
Yeah.
How fast it, it took
so
him.
fast.
It was fast.
It was real fast.
Yeah, Jason and I were playing a
I
lot
know
of
y'all
golf
were
together.
real cool.
Yeah.
Good
We
friends.
were hanging out a lot, and that was just it's hard to watch. And it's a couple of times that I've been through that now with somebody close, and it doesn't get any easier, and it's fast, and it's like, why, and Jason was so like healthy and put together and polite and kind,
a huge
and
personality,
just a great guy. So it's cool that you got connected to them. And DJ, I love DJ as well, like very special person to me.
DJ's as cool as it gets, man. Yeah. I mean, the guy, it's a honor to know guys like DJ and Jason. And what's really cool about it, I can tell you, like, you think that somebody's one way, I'm kind of in recovery, but you're like, I hope he's not that motherfucker, that I'm worried about, outside of it. Yes. And it's such a wonderful surprise when you find out that not only, are they that person, they're even better, than that.
100% real.
Yeah. And so, everybody on the team, we're all in recovery. Everybody's got at least 10 years.
Nice.
With the exception of this other guy who was DJ's banker, who was just a freaking amazing guy named Clay. He's the sweetest human being you'll ever meet. But it's cool that we all have that, common denominator bond, because we kind of like get each other. Yeah. But it was tough at first. And then I started to figure out what I was doing, and then got lucky enough to where there were some really good, hailstorms, that's how you make money, like in that business. And I had never made money in recovery. Yeah.
No, we don't.
I mean, it's
we don't make money.
The 80,000 a year was, as high as that went. And as you guys know, cost of living, throw some kids in the mix. You're not going to be out, driving sports cars. Yeah.
What's that
on
meme? Like, you guys are making money? Like, what?
But I tell you, it was crazy when I started to make money, at that. And it came at a great time because, I was able to, my son turned 16 at that time, was able to buy him a cool used truck. My daughter turned 16 the following year, and we got to do some cool stuff. Nice. But I mean, that business really ebbs and flows with the weather. Like now, we're experiencing, like 3 or 4 months, it's been all money going out, none coming in. But, as soon as it storms again, that all changes. Yeah. And this time around, when we do get that storm, me and my wife are going to be better about tucking away for a rainy day deal. But still that, gosh, I mean, I can't believe how expensive it is to live, these days. And so there's always that fear kind of the unknown. But I really like this roofing gig. The only thing that I miss about working in treatment is, of course, I miss the wonderful stories. I do not miss all the horror stories, of all the tragedies. Yeah. I really miss the teams. Especially like, man, that first squad that we had at TLR and the squad that we had the whole time throughout Solstice. Yeah. I mean, you can't laugh any more than we did. We were all kind of cut from the same cloth. We had a blast, but it was the staff that really kind of made like Solstice real special, just because it was all about, let's have a good time. Yeah. I mean, like the thing that me and Tara wanted to see on the exit interviews was more than anything else. It was just like, I had a fucking blast, because that's who we were trying to be, and that's it. Yeah. We did not take in people that didn't want to be there, which made things a lot easier, as well. Yeah. And the cool thing about it is in treatment, one of the things that I fucking hate is how everybody's given these extensions, whether if you need it or not. Yeah. And I think that's some dirty ass shit. Yeah. And so I look back on my, burning tree experience in 2002. And so coming out of jail and coming out of 30 days at La Hacienda, I'm battling some wicked felony charges. I'm already a felon, and I got more than I'm going to court for. Yeah. And so I'm looking at going to the big house, which scared the fuck out of me, the very idea of it. But they were like, look, you're going to go back to jail for a little bit. From there, we want you to go to this 90-day center, in Kaufman. So I'm like, 90 days? Is like, never heard of that. Everything was kind of 30 day. And so I get there, and the first day, it somehow came up. I'm like, do my 90 days. I'm out here. And they're like, 90 days. They started laughing like, you're going to be here a lot longer than that. I'm like,
treatment
no,
center.
I'm fucking not. And so they would get me, and everybody else, they'd get you close to that 90 days. And then they'd hit you with, we want you to stay another 3 months. Yeah. And I would have told them to fuck off, right away. But I can't, because if I do that, I am fucked legally. Like, I'm going to prison. I haven't been to prison, been a lot of times in county. I do not want to go to prison. Yeah. And then when I'm done with that 90-day extension, right at the end of that 6-month mark, I'm like, fine, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
We want you to stay another 6 months. I lost my shit.
Yeah.
I started breaking stuff. Fuck you. But again, I was in a bad spot because I had to stay there. And
they knew that.
they knew that,
Yeah.
but they do that to everybody, which is why I think it's a dirty motherfucking thing to do
Yeah.
because it's dishonest.
Yeah.
Don't advertise yourself as a 90-day when no one there is going to stay 90 days. I think that's chicken shit.
Yeah.
And
That's get them in the door and bait and switch.
yeah, and that is ungodly prevalent down, down here.
Oh, yeah.
I like to think, hopefully it's not as much as it was at one point, but I'm sure, that it absolutely
It's
is.
gotten better.
It has gotten better.
Yeah, insurance
Yeah.
improves less days.
True.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Most people are insurance based.
that in some ways, insurance is a dirty thing, but in some ways, it prevents a lot of
has
that. And a lot of the
regulated
cash
that.
pay has gone away too, right? The whole
Yeah.
cash pay model has gone
Yeah.
away because
Because Burning Tree was cash pay, right?
back then,
100%,
yeah,
100% cash
yeah,
pay.
and
They
I
knew
mean,
you had rich parents, and they were.
and they're still out there. They're still they're still there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Driftwood. There's a specific clientele for that kind of thing that
Yeah.
not everybody can afford paying for a year because you're not getting insurance for a year. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Like, so you got to come out of pocket. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, most of those people, it's not court ordered.
Yeah.
type shit.
so it's different.
And I have no problem with extensions if that person needs it.
Based
If
on
it's
the treatment plan.
If it's
Yeah.
individualized.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. These fucking places, and of course they could just leverage this shit out of the families, these scare tactics, which again I think is a dirty motherfucking thing.
Yeah.
But it's like just be honest, about it.
Yeah.
Once I started to see that's when that was the thing that got me the first where I was like, this shit is not what I thought. This is not all
Yeah.
pure and
Yeah.
and good shit.
I was really good at writing notes and extending clients.
Mm-hmm.
And the place I worked at knew that. So they would be like, hey, we need you to extend so and so.
Yeah.
They got a good policy.
Yeah. Oh, those good policies.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
You hate
I'll
hearing
find
that.
something on the
Right?
treatment
Like when
plan.
you hear that, it is not about the patient anymore.
It's not, but they could justify it, by like, hey,
Look at the treatment
studies
plan.
show
Yeah.
that the
Yes.
longer that
Exactly.
you're in care,
Statistics
the
are-
better chance you have.
Yep.
Is
I
that
said
the
that so
driver
many
of
times.
it? No, that's the excuse that
Yeah.
justifies it.
I
And
said
so
that
you,
Day in RTC's a day sober.
Well, that's the thing. You make good money in RTC, and then they don't really care about the IOP as much. That's why I like IOP, because like an extension, they genuinely need it.
Yeah.
They're like really struggling because they're like doing some life shit.
yeah.
But RTC, like they're just sitting there doing like, groups and stuff. Like,
Our issue is the reverse of that. Of insurance doesn't want to allow an extension, and we're like, they need it.
Yeah. Then you got to fight every day.
It's a
just
fine
for little
balance.
bit
but then we'll
coverage.
get people that get like 16 weeks off the rip.
Yeah.
A TRICARE was like 5 months. They're like, sure, yeah, sounds good. Okay.
But I'll tell you, like that was one of the things that I love so much about Solstice was our guys would ask for extensions.
Same.
It was like, I want to stay here
Yeah.
longer. And we're like,
Yeah.
hey,
We
Stay.
get that.
even the majority of people that were there were 100% scholarshiped. But we didn't care about that. It's like, stay as long as you need to, provided that you're
Yeah.
not just staying here
Right.
to
Hiding out.
Hiding.
to avoid it. So I miss those teams
Yeah.
a lot. I miss that. I haven't had since then to where you're really in this group of guys.
How
kind of
is
that
it?
stuff.
Because we get that kind of clientele and the people that are like, I want to stay around. How is it for you, like as a leader, to like lead a team that is doing that kind of stuff, and like what were kind of like the ups and downs with that?
Like the team at Solstice, it wasn't really any work, on my part. Everybody's just kind of got that, default mode. I looked at my role, like me and Tara, was just to make sure that it stays on track, because how many centers do you see where they start off one way and the next thing you know, they take a hard left or a hard right until, this going back like the TLR thing, till eventually you don't recognize the place, at all.
Yeah.
Our goal was to make sure that, hey, this is our narrow little ditch
This
right
is our
here. We're
brand,
going to
and
stay
this is-
straight and true on that. And I wish that a place like Solstice was around, just because there's such a need for people that don't have insurance, people that don't have resources. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore. COVID took was a big part of taking us out. It took out Austin Recovery, two
Yeah.
places where, people that didn't have resources could go. But man, I've heard so much about Solstice, people, refer to it. And I know more people say it than, people won't say it to my face, where they know it as like the death center, and that drives me fucking crazy.
I've heard
but
it.
You've never heard it?
No, I've heard it.
Yeah. And so how that comes, and it bothers me because, of course it's personal. But anytime one of our, residents alumni would pass away, we would throw it out there on Facebook because that was someone that we loved.
Yeah.
Sinners don't do that.
That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
right.
And I mean that I will attest to. That speaks to who you are. As I'm willing to show you the power of this disease, and these are people
authentic
that are going through something that a lot of people don't survive from, and we're willing to show it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the percentage of people that find recovery is still low. Like that's not fair for any center to tout their stupid statistics that they like to give. They're never real. They're never authentic.
They're so full of shit.
Someone tried to say they had a 4% AMA rate, and I was like, bro, we sent you so many clients that AMA'd every day, so you fucking lying to me?
Yeah.
Or are your stats wrong?
Well,
what the fuck's true here?
Stats
Are we the whole 4%?
Stats are padded. Stats are twisted to a certain way
There's
to
so many
say
ways
that
to
they
make
are
you
what
like
they
that.
are.
Yeah.
But I mean, people are dying out there, and when you're treating the people that have struggled the most,
Right.
you're gonna have
when people would say that to me, I'm like, they were helping the worst boys, right? Like the worst of the worst.
And
the
again, going
fentanyl,
back
the
to also
heroin,
like 80 some odd percent, of these people being opiate addicts, IV.
Yeah.
What nobody, cares to think of or knows is that every one of those guys had been through a shitload of treatment centers, whether if it was TLR, blah, 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 any of these places. And so they, this is a reflection of them.
You should be like, why didn't y'all fix them? Why didn't you fix them
They
before I
went
got
to
them?
all your facilities. Why didn't y'all fix them?
And the overwhelming majority of those people, after they left us, would relapse, they would go somewhere else for care after that.
Yeah.
So what got us that reputation was just because of
The honesty.
we would throw it out there because the number of people that passed away was staggering.
Yes.
As it is staggering. It's such a high number. But I wish it bothers me, how I wish that centers would own, that more. But it's like we wanted to honor that person, honor their families
100%.
because they meant something. But the people that didn't have a fucking clue about, what we did out there, we're, a concentration fucking camp, next thing you know. And so that hurts. I was just like, I wish you knew what we did out there because we were very invested in these dudes.
Yeah.
We got them as far as, we could take them in the work. We got them that, brotherhood piece for them to roll with that, when they got out of there.
Yeah.
For a place that's not a treatment center, I mean, we stacked it as much, as we could, And so I wish that people knew how invested that we were in these guys and how much that we tried and how close we were to them. But the people that say it, again, it's nothing that keeps me up at night. It's just people that don't know fucking shit.
I was going to say,
Right.
anybody
They
that's
just don't
saying that
know.
needs to check their own ego and check their own
Right.
honesty about what they know and don't know about this thing and,
about their
what
own
they're
facility.
putting out about their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that, anybody that knows Cole knows, how much he poured into this. And there's tons of guys out there that will tell you that you are, key to their sobriety.
Yeah,
So-
and I don't like that. I get it because there's a lot of people that I attribute my sobriety to, whether it's like Tony Messbarger, Mark Houston, Robert Bowles, these guys.
Messbarger.
But when people say man, you saved my life.
Yeah.
It's like I get it why you're saying it because I feel the same way, but I didn't. I just provided you a space.
We did, but Tony, God bless him too. But Tony, I say that about Tony all the time. Tony Messbarger was, coming out to my felony treatment center on Tuesday nights when I was getting sober, and
He
was a
was
big
a real-
reason why I'm here.
He was huge in my recovery as well because I loved Tony. Tony was Tony. He acted the same way, personally and professionally, all that. And these guys were instrumental because I took on so many of those characteristics.
Yeah.
They gave me permission for me to be me.
Yeah.
And I've stayed true to that. It's like, I'm going to be me no matter where the fuck I go.
Yeah.
And so
That's huge.
and sure, there's a marketing aspect of that also. It did do a kind of a good job of separating me for the rest, where
Yeah.
people knew. I've been around long enough towards people like, yeah, we know he's fucked off, but he does care, about it. And so, it's one of those things that have served me well. Plus, it's just nice not to be a walking fraud around. But when you see like sinners, it's like they never, pay tribute to anybody that has passed away. Quite the opposite. They just show the success stories,
Yes.
how, and that is such a fucking misrepresentation of the realities of what's really going on.
It's true.
Yeah.
I've got to get out of here. I've dropped a bunch of hand grenades.
You got to go play golf.
I'm ready to go. No, I'm getting in a car driving 15 hours for spring break with a bunch of kids.
Where you going?
Gallenberg,
I don't know where that
Dollywood,
is.
East Tennessee.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So pray for me.
Have fun with that.
I love you, brother.
I love you too. It's good to see you, Scotty. Always. I carry my best.